unfortunate that the only African, the only black individual to have Ebola passed last week. Um, Being a spokesperson of the family and being closely connected to the family is not something that I'm happy with, and I don't think anyone is happy with that. I have talked to many whites, Caucasian, and diverse communities who feel that Eric Duncan was not treated fairly. Some believe that it's because he was black. Some believe that because he came from Africa, but Duncan did come in contact with a pregnant woman. They live in the same complex together and rooms opposite each other. She was pregnant, and Duncan being a community person, a go-to person, usually people would run to him. She came out of her area feeling kind of nauseated and weak. And she fell and she yelled, Eric, Eric, help me. He came out of his room and went to help her. He called another guy. He held the foot, the guy held the hand. They took her to the nearest clinic, not a hospital. Took her to the clinic. When she got to the clinic, she only had nauseation and what they had thought was, pregnancy, complication from pregnancy. So they treated her with complication of pregnancy. Duncan took her back home. Few days later, she died. Duncan was traveling to America about the same time. He left and came to America. When she was taken to the hospital, they took a blood test, urine sample, and another test they gave her. And as you know, in a smaller clinic, for those of you who are from the villages and small towns, those clinics are not as
Sophisticated.
as a hospital or one in the city. So her result did not come about until after she passed. After she died, they buried her regularly. She was not burned or anything. After she was buried, Duncan came to the States. 2 days after Duncan was in the hospital in America, that's when her test result came out. And they said, your family, your daughter died from Ebola. But there were no fever. She only felt nauseated. And as we all know, when you first come up with that, the symptoms are not all the same. Like Eric, the nurse that took him after he was sent home 2 times, got Ebola. Louise and the children don't have Ebola. Right. So when it is within the incubation stage, the first few stages is not as contagious. But when you get to the point where the fever is high and you're throwing up and diarrhea and all of that, that's when it is most contagious. And Louise and the children were with him. And Louise is fine. I'm on my way to Texas tomorrow to be there when she comes out of quarantine.
So basically, he didn't know.
No, he did not know. Okay. They show us Eric via scalp, just the head. That's it. You could not see the monitor, nothing. He looked like he was dead. So I asked the question, when was the last time we were in the room with all of the nurses and hospital administrators, and he was not moving, nothing, and we're talking, he's not moving, and they said, well, he was under a lot of drugs. So I asked, I said, when was the last time he moved his limb? No one in the room that was meeting with us. And in that room was one of the nurses that said that she was the head nurse attending to Eric. Wow. When was the last time he moved a limb or moved his head? She said, hold on for a second, and she gets on the thing to call to find out. So we are asking all these questions, no one could answer. Then we were informed that why was he not giving treatment? Right. They said, well, he did not give consent.
What?
Then we found out the same day that he was on dialysis. Okay, he did not give consent to be treated. How is he on dialysis? Who gave the permission for dialysis? So it was just a whole lot of things. When Eric went to the hospital, he had a temperature of 103. He was still sent home. That's why the nurse who first saw him, the second time he went, got the Ebola, because when she went the second time with the high fever, she did his pulse and respiration, and she actually touched him.
Yeah.
We are talking about racism. We're talking about how America treated our fellow man. But let us talk about how we treated Eric. Instead of this president getting up and saying, look, let me do an investigation. Or I do sympathize with this family that this man is ill. She said, send him back and we will penalize him. So when you pointing hands at the white man and saying that if he was white, he would not have been treated that way, point the finger at his mother, which is Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, before you can point the finger to her.
True.